All right, I'm back again. You can see that my basket slash beading bowl has gotten quite a lot bigger. I've got almost the size of the kind of flat base there. I'm gonna keep moving these around to kind of give you a comparison. And I am getting to a point where my stitches are about as far apart as I would want them to be, and I'm going to add some extra stitches in so that I can keep them closer than about 1 centimeter together, closer together than about 1 centimeter, and that's going to help for areas where you have like the end of your pine needles, or you're adding pine needles in. It just keeps everything secured more frequently, more regularly, such that we can keep building and hold everything in place in a consistent way to make a solid little tray like this one. I've got a small collection of these I work with, but this is the one that doesn't currently have beads in it, so that's why it's my model today. And so what I'm going to do here, you can see that my stitches are starting to get fairly far apart. I would say that's close to 1 centimeter. I'm going to go ahead and just stitch normally through this next one because I still feel comfortable with that space. And as I mentioned earlier, as you start going, you get more of a kind of twisting, spiraling pattern. And the way that I stitch is I'll usually tilt it up, poke it through, and then kind of watch as I angle through the other side of my sinew stitch on the previous round. Just to keep reviewing that as I kind of show every different step here. So I feel comfortable with that distance. I'm going to go ahead and cinch that, and then I am going to go to this next stitch here, going through both sides, pulling that stitch taut, and then because this is getting into the area where I feel like there's more space than I want there, and this is the gap that's going to keep coming up here, right? I am going to make another stitch through the same spot I just stitched through. And when you pull those snug, because your sinew isn't coming out of this other place, it comes out of here, you get this straight little stitch and this sort of angle that is made. And you can see actually earlier on, I did a couple of these extra stitches here where that little almost V shape is made. So it's pretty subtle, but it does show up in the basket design, but it's not something that I in any way consider to be a problem aesthetically. It's just how this technique works. It's part of how your basket will develop and responding to your materials as the work progresses. So I've come through that same sinew, and I'm now going to go ahead and stitch into the next one. And again, because that's a spot where I want my stitches to, I want to add more stitches, I'm going through the same location again, and I'm actually even going to try to just hook onto that previous sinew stitch a little bit better because I missed it a bit on that first go through. And yeah, so there's this little V developing. Whoop. And what's going to happen with these is when I get all the way around again, I'll just have twice as many stitches in that spot. Like you can see here, one line becomes two. One line of stitching, that is, that's woven through the basket. And the rest of this round, I would say, is pretty okay spacing wise. Here we're starting to get wider than I really like to leave it, so I'll probably add another stitch to each spot, not on this row, but on the row after, and possibly also here too. I probably could have included that in these, but when I was here it didn't look like it was so spread out that it was necessary yet. And I'm just going to bring this a little bit farther along, and then I can show you what those look like after I've continued to stitch out and add pine needles from there when I come back to show you how to shape your basket.